with those updates. Meanwhile, as the Khalistan movement continues in Canada, a video of a parade of Khalistan supporters in Vancouver has gone viral on social media. In the video posted by Canada-based investigative journalist Mocha Bezirgan, a local Canadian man was heard responding to the parade by stating, and I'm quoting here, "No one cares, go back." In the video, Khalistan supporters are seen carrying out a rally. The supporters in the video can also be seen carrying an effigy of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, notably along with the Khalistani flags. Perhaps for the first time in my memory, a Pakistani flag was also spotted during the same rally. This video comes after the Canadian journalist alleged that he was surrounded and threatened by a group of Khalistan supporters who also tried to snatch his phone while he was filming their weekend rally in downtown Vancouver. He also shared the video footage as evidence on the social media platform X. Here, the investigative journalist said that he was surrounded by quote-unquote thugs who also got physical as he continued to do his jobs. Viewers, before we take this conversation forward and the implications this has now for the revival of India-Canada relations, it's important for us to have a look at both the videos that have come out online.
All you're doing is playing the victim.
You guys are trying to threaten.
Record it.
Well, yeah, I will. Stop touching me. Stop touching me. Look what you're doing. Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
You keep walking. How can we have a conversation? You keep walking away.
No, because you're coming too close. You're coming too close.
Make sure you play this here. You are constantly demonizing the general Sikh community, a Sikh community that's under attack from hate crimes. You are exacerbating those hate crimes. You are exacerbating those hate crimes.
Keep your distance.
You are exacerbating those hate
for
crimes.
Keep your
This is not
distance.
looking good for me.
Keep
Don't
your
worry about how
distance.
it's looking for me.
Keep your
I'm
distance.
completely good with how it's looking.
You need to
That's
keep your
fine.
distance, buddy.
My distance is fine.
You need to keep your distance.
My distance is.
You need to keep a distance,
We got
buddy.
distance.
You need to keep a distance.
We got distance.
No.
The point is,
This is not how you talk. This
are
is not how you
demonizing-
communicate.
You are demonizing the Sikh community.
I am not demonizing
encouraging
anyone.
violence towards a minority
You need to grow up.
community.
What is your age?
No.
How
Don't
old are
worry
you?
about my age.
Are you a
Don't worry
citizen
about
of
my
Canada?
age. Look, can you...
Go home! Sir, can I get your thoughts on this?
Indian government. Who killed Canadian? Haryana, Himachal, Punjab. बढ़ते रहेगा खालिस्तान.
In Canada of Himachal, Haryana, Punjab banke rahega Khalistan. That's what's happening in Canada right now, as though they don't have more important domestic issues to solve. Major General Rajan Kochar with us on the broadcast, Surinder Singh Lali, Mr. Harinder Sikka and Ambassador Manju Seth with us as well. Let me begin with Major General Rajan Kochar. Major General Rajan Kochar, interestingly, in one of the videos that has been shared, sir, by an investigative journalist, one of the Khalistan supporters can be heard saying that he's being harassed and that locals in Canada are now encouraging hate crimes against the Sikh minority community by simply calling them out for carrying out these Khalistan referendums and carrying out Khalistan protests on Canadian soil. Is that a logic that is going to settle well with the locals of Canada? Or, with the Khalistani supporters now trying to cry victim?
Thank you, Devika. I have friends in Canada, and what I get to hear from them is that this Khalistani support movement in Canada is a minority there. A majority of the Indians who are staying in Canada, they are least interested in what these agenda of the Khalistani is. But you see, unfortunately, 2.1% of the population in Canada is of Sikhs. And according to the latest figures with me, it's approximately around uh, 7.71 lakhs. And Prime Minister Modi being invited to the G7 in Alberta is a setback to the people there who are supporting this Khalistani movement. Mind you, they are in a minority and they don't control the uh, Indian opinion as far as Indo-Canada relations are concerned. What is a very important challenge I would feel for the Canadian government and for the new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, is that he will have to navigate his foreign policy towards India in a manner that he restores the deteriorating relations between India and Canada. What has happened is over the year, like about 2 years back, deterioration started, and we don't have a embassy actually functioning there. All those aspects will have to be restored in due course of time.
Yes, yes.
And I'm sure it is going to be done in an incremental manner, as has already been stated by their foreign minister. Anita is there, and she has made a categorical statement that we will take one step at a time. These sentiments, unfortunately, are propelled by the Canadian laws, which would need a review as far as the freedom of speech is concerned. Because in Canada, anybody can speak anything, and there is no restriction on any kind of speech in Canada. And that is why, if you were observed in the last 1 year, there were some attacks and provocative speeches against the Hindus. The Hindu temples were also targeted, and we are aware of these things. The Canadian High Commission also protests were there, and that is why a sizable community of the Hindus and the Sikhs had to come on the road to show a solidarity with the Hindu population and the Sikh population. Yes. Because again, I'm stressing this point that these Khalistanis there are in a minority. And my last point is the role of the ISI. You see from where the money is coming, from where the movement is getting funded. It is the ISI involvement, and it has been proved beyond doubt. We have had a dossier on this, we have intelligence reports on this, how the ISI and the Canadian, this movement for Khalistan is being funded. Because we are aware of what happened in Punjab and whose role was there and how we squashed that movement in India. A similar kind of a movement that they are wanting to have in Canada. That's why you made a statement, they want a state of Khalistan, which I think is a pipe dream. They'll never be able to get it, and I'm sure in a matter of a couple of months' time, the relationship between the Indian and the Canadian government is going to improve. The first step has already been taken by inviting Prime Minister Modi for the G7 summit, and I'm sure in times to come, these relations are going to improve.
Yes, and we also know why exactly the rallies are happening at this point in time, because G7 meeting is next week. So you're expecting the Indian Prime Minister to be in Canada, and that's why you want to hold as many of these Khalistani rallies as possible. Ambassador Manju said, I want to bring you in on that point. The people at the rally now blatantly also carrying the flag of Pakistan along with the Khalistan flag, that clearly indicates or is an attempt to send a message, as Major General Rajan Kochar also pointed out, that we know who's behind this, who's the mastermind. It is the ISI. However, Ambassador Manju said, it doesn't seem as though Pakistan has the direct funds to provide for this movement. If it's not Pakistan, if the funding is being routed via Pakistan, who's the real culprit? And why do you think that they've now gone a step ahead to start blatantly showing the Pakistani flag as well at these Khalistani rallies?
Devika, the thing is that I think, as very rightly mentioned by the general, the whole Khalistani movement was encouraged, funded by Pakistan and by, as mentioned, by the ISI for the last so many years. So whether they have, and also terror, they've been funding terror in India also. So whether they have money for other things or not, they definitely are able to spare money for any terror activity anywhere and any anti-India activity. But having said that, I'll also say that a lot of funding in Canada for these elements also comes through the so-called drug mafia and the human trafficking that they all indulge in, and the huge amount of money that exchanges hands amongst criminal elements there, including the Khalistani pro-Khalistani elements, and they get people there, and they all make money out of this. All these illegal activities, criminal activities. And definitely the Canadians are also beginning to understand that there is a problem. But the fact that now the Prime Minister Indian Prime Minister is going to be there at the G7 summit, I think they thought this is a good time. They think it's a good time to protest this, and they were very happy under Prime Minister Trudeau, who had made it his agenda to have as a government, as part of the government. I mean, the government had an anti-India stance all along. So I think they were very happy with him there. Now that Mark Carney has come, and when he took office, he said he would like to reset the ties with India, and would like to discuss all aspects, including security aspects, etc. And I think the Niger killing, which seems to have held the whole bilateral relationship at hostage, also needs to be finally closed. And they've been talking of Five Eyes, etc. So I don't know which of the Five Eyes are also encouraging all this. But separately, the fact that the locals are now being affected, and the fact that they're making it into a religious, giving a religious flavor, a communal flavor, saying all Hindus should be sent out of Canada. I think it's time for the Canadian government and authorities to understand what is at stake, what is happening. The Indian community there is very prosperous, and they're really contributing to the economy. And with this kind of activity and this kind of rhetoric that is being allowed in the name of free speech, the Canadian government really needs to rethink its whole approach to the so-called freedom of speech.
Okay, Mr. Lali, bringing you in on the conversation. When we say, Mr. Lali, and this is not the first time we're having this conversation about the Khalistani movement in Canada, but when we say that Canada needs to realize what's at stake, what is really at stake? Have we been able to put that point across to Canada ourselves that, listen, this is what's at stake if you continue to mess your relations with us? There is now, it seems, Mark Carney has sent out that invitation, right, to Prime Minister Modi. So he's sending out subtle messages that my intention is to fix relations with you. However, we cannot allow, or rather Canada should not be allowing, Pakistani flags and Khalistani flags on their streets. It's becoming a nuisance for the locals as well, and I'll come to that in just a moment. But what is it that is at stake as far as Canada is concerned if it continues to sour relations with India over a movement that will possibly never see the light of day as far as India is concerned? And Canada should be concerned about the fact that if there is eventually going to be a Khalistan, it could possibly very well be on their land.
Thank you, Devika. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be here, and I wish to thank NewsX for allowing this space to 87% of the Sikhs who live in India and are very happily living our dream. I mean, we're 1.72% of the Indian population and 8% in the Indian army. So I don't know what referendums and who do these fringe rogues nourished under the bogey of free speech by the deep states wish to represent, be it the World Sikh Organization or Sikh for Justice. I mean, these are a bunch of, handful of people who are just running around, to various parts organizing, which even the Iranian journalist Mocha said, there are a bunch of them who just running around and they find, Indians who are vulnerable and who have a case of political asylum, and they, try and gather a crowd. And now to the question of, Canada to an extent was heading the Pakistan way, because for the long time they nourished, these, I only call them the K elements, who definitely are not only funded by ISI, but they are involved in all sorts of nefarious activities and cross-border smuggling, be it drugs, human trafficking, and, even for that matter, prostitution. So I think now the Canadians are also realizing that for a while, we were quiet because, the civil society takes time in warming up, unlike the rogues. So now they realize that if you are not on the right side of India, the fourth largest economy, a $4 trillion economy, obviously you lose out, and especially when a lot of geopolitics and economics is going to happen in the Indo-Pacific. So more than our loss, of course it's a big loss for us because there's a very large diaspora. Most innocent Sikhs and most Hindus are going to suffer. But more than that, it's going to be a great loss to Canada. And Devika, there are 22 individuals, Punjabis, who've been elected into the House of Commons. So a lot of these were originally funded by these fringe rogues under the K narrative. I mean, and it's going to take time because Per Poliver and the NDP leaders just last week in Surrey were attending a Nagar Kirtan where Babbar Khalsa's, the band organization's banner was there, and Santokh Singh, who's also convicted for, he was in jail for, I think, 6 years, had a, axe in his hand, and he was talking all sorts of nonsense about India. So I think the Canadians are now realizing it's just that it's going to take time for them to undo because, these people are like cancer. They've gotten, the rot has gotten into the system, be it with the border patrol or be it with the RCMP. So I think it's going to be a while before they come out, but they become more than getting, unhappy or peeved. I find it hilarious of them having the Pakistani flag. I mean, that's a basket case, a country which takes a loan to fund a war, and it's probably for that IMF loan that the ISI, tends to fund these fringe rogues. So I don't know. I mean, if anything, that ought to give you an idea of the level of intelligence and IQ of these individuals who have a Pakistani flag. And one more thing is they're also tend to celebrate, Bhindranwale. And I don't know from where, who allowed them to use the word saint next to it, because if had he been a saint, he would not have been inside the temple and allowed Blue Star to happen, because, Blue Star wasn't just Bhindranwale. I mean, it was Congress also involved in it, which is a different discussion for a different day. So I, to the best of my strength, register a protest not only against Pakistan's flag being used by these individuals who carry the same article of faith that I do, which is a turban. And now it's embarrassing even for some of us, because now the average Canadian is saying, using the, the 4-letter word and saying, go back to your country. So it's because of these individuals that, some of us will also have to bear the brunt. So I think, Devika, it's very sad, but I think now Carney has realized that, if you're not doing business with the leader of the global South and such a large economy, it's going to be your loss more than ours, Devika.
Okay, Mr. Sikka, then bringing you in on that note, where, and just bear with me, Mr. Sikka, because the demand for Khalistan is not taking place on Indian soil. That's one fact that we have to clarify, and we have to badger home this point. It's not happening here. These are people who belong to the Sikh faith, who are living possibly a very comfortable life in Canada. They're not refugees in exile or people who were forced to flee India and now they want to come back to their land, because as Indian Sikhs, they would anyway be welcome. However, now, Mr. Sikka, that the local Canadians have reached the point where they're saying, go back to your land. My question to you is, what is that land and where does that land exist? Because our young Sikhs, for maybe a little bit of money, falling for propaganda which is making them a nuisance in a foreign nation. Why do they want this self-imposed refugee status? Who is this even impacting?
Let's go a little back. It is important that we repeat it each time. From the first Guru, Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, to the 10th Guru, everybody followed Sanatan. And Maharada Ranjit Singh Ji wrote very clearly, in more languages than one, Pratham Bhagoti Simar ke. He printed it on his flag. Bhagoti Simar ke. Pehle Bhagwati ko simarenge. Sent 100 kgs of gold to Kashi Vishwanath temple much before the gold was put on Harimandir Sahib. So we are one right from day we are born. However, it was Congress which was responsible, mainly responsible. 84 onwards, this grew like how. And that carnage that happened, it has not gone out of the minds and souls of people. And I've seen that from close quarters. I was in Navy at that time, a young lieutenant. I've seen it with my own eyes. And those goons continue to roam free judicially is equally important, if not more. Having said that, Canada continued to support them for whatever reasons, because of Trudeau. His father was also in the same line. And it's a fact that Pakistanis are at play. The reason is very simple. Pakistanis understand that they cannot control Sikhs, that they're fearsome, they're meant to fight. And each Hindu family had given first a child to become a Sikh, and this has happened it is our part of our history. My forefathers were Hindus. Name me one Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Christian who in India wasn't a Hindu before. So that part they cannot take it away. And the Pakis' problem was how to control them. For that they had a masterpiece in their hand. What the army also controls is drugs. They grow it there illegally, yes, but that illegal over there is illegal. That is how it is turning that into gold, mine or money or whatever you call it. There are 50 odd tunnels which have been recently caught or filled up or whatever across the border. It is so easy to dig in something because the terrain is such hilly terrain and what have you. This drug hawala racket is one part of it. Congress proxy with these ISI agents, I'm saying with all utmost responsibility, that this must be checked. They have to be part and parcel. Also, the fact that certain families, the first families erstwhile, was part and parcel of it, and one of their family members was charged by ED for 6,000 crores. That case is lying in some part of the world. I do not where. This India's rapid growth is also part of the problem for Pakistan, and at that time for Trudeau. Now, come to freedom of speech. Freedom of speech and abuse of speech, Canada has to decide, and I think they are addressing this situation. Last I heard from some friends of mine who have been monitoring, and one of them is topmost lawyer there. They tell that there are changes taking place, but it is not that easy that for these changes to take place. We democratized too much to take certain things back, and that's what the statement is. And because they want the labor power, tract of land is so many miles and unused. And how do they till it? Because nobody is willing to do anything. Sikhs are good for that business, and Sikhs are running their wheat and crops and what have you. The fact of the matter is that Pakistanis are using Khalistanis as the front, and they find it very easy to cultivate them, and they are handful. But that handful is like a lime water, drops of lime in a bowl of milk, and they spoil the entire thing. And at least they get eyeballs and so many ears listening to them. But the Canadians are now getting fed up with them. Last but not the least, please understand, Pakistan is like a cancer, a rogue cancer, which will spread. It has no other alternative but to be operated upon. And Canada is getting support from the deep state. And that deep state feels that this is the only way to control India. And we need to understand medicines won't cure this cancer. Operation will.
Okay, all right. Mr. Lali wants to make a point as well.
I wish to thank Mr. Sikka for making the basis of my next point, and I see great similarity between the entire state of Pakistan and these fringe rogues. Now, what's the point I'm trying to make? Devika, I've always said that Pakistan is not a country which is purely in a political or a financial crisis. They have an identity crisis. They're trying to run away from their roots, which is from Sanatan. And now I see a similarity with these fringe rogues who are trying to create a Hindu-Sikh rift, because they're trying to run away from their roots, which is Sanatan, which is where all of us came from. Our first 9 gurus were Hindus. It was only the 10th guru that created the Khalsa Panth. So what I'm trying to say, the broader gist of it is that Pakistan and both these fringe rogues are suffering from the same disease, which is trying to run away from their Sanatani roots, which they can't. Unfortunately, you can't change history. Thank you, Devika.
Major Rajan Kochar, one last word to you, sir. I have 30 seconds, but I want to understand from your perspective as well. Why do you think a bunch of young Sikh people that we see now in these rallies in Canada, why do you think that they wish to ruin their own futures in a foreign land and fall for this sort of propaganda?
You see, Devika, this movement of Khalistan is not new. It has been there for a number of years in Canada, and this organization, Sikh for Justice, which is a banned organization there, they are trying to entice these youths into it. As Mr. Sikka has also brought out, there is a lot of drug money involved, and there is a crisis for employment, there is a crisis for money, and these people are being lured into their organization, into that the lure of their money and this kind of benefits. And that is why we find that these movements are gaining a foothold in 3 or 4 important places in Canada where the Sikh population is in majority. So we find Brampton is one area, Alberta is one area, British Columbia is one area, Ontario is one area. So these are 3-4 areas where these movements are supposedly gaining a foothold. So, and unfortunately, the political system of Canada is not able to stop it, because these people have gone into governance also.
Yes.
They have gone into parliament also, and that is why at times it is a political compulsion on the part of the government to be part of this process. So I think it will take a lot of hard work by the Canadian government and the new Prime Minister to come out of the clutches of this entire issue.
Okay. Before we come to the breaking news, once again, Ambassador Manju said one last question to you, ma'am. I want to understand then from you. I personally refuse to believe that the people that I see at these rallies are simply there because they have some great love for some nation called Khalistan in their hearts, and that they really want to see, and they'll be moving their lives away from Canada and coming back if in some future a Khalistan is created somewhere in the world. I personally refuse to believe that this is all happening out of some sort of great love for a Khalistan. I do believe that there is a massive money trail which ought to be exposed. Is that something that you feel we now really need to put our energies into, and perhaps prepare dossiers that as we have for, say, a country like Pakistan, and show where is the money? If we can't figure out exactly where the money is coming from, we can at least figure out where the money is going. How much are these people paid to be at these rallies?
Absolutely. I think that is a very important aspect which needs to be investigated by the Indian agencies, but also in collaboration with the local agencies in Canada. And till they understand that what is the issue, and how the money is their criminal activities, their trafficking, and these young people being lured into coming into the, and many of them are illegal immigrants from India who have been given who have claimed refugee status and asylum over there, trying to get their say that they are prosecuted in India. And so I think that aspect also needs to be made very clear to the local authorities, to the local agencies, and we need to work with them and, as you rightly said, prepare dossiers and find the money trail Where is it coming from? Where is it going? And how are they utilizing it for anti-India activities? There's freedom of speech and there is an anti-India, can you imagine an anti-Canadian activity going on in India and saying kill Trudeau or kill Mark Carney or whoever?
No, never. Ma'am, it would become a United Nations discussion overnight. A special session would be called of the UN if something of that nature were to happen on Indian soil, where some leader of one of the so-called first world countries was being threatened on Indian soil. We can all sit here today and imagine exactly what the narrative across international media would be within hours. I'm not even talking about days, within hours. Everyone will be out with their knives against India, once again calling it, calling us names and accusing us. So that's the sad bit. But Mr. Lally, I want to understand, just 30 seconds, I need to wrap up, but how critical is it for us to understand why these young people are falling for all of this? I can guarantee it that there is some sort of money that is involved.
I'm sorry, Devika, to be the devil's advocate. We have given enough dossiers to the West. Where was Osama bin Laden found? Where are 80% of the terrorist attacks coming from? You think the Americans don't know? Yet we had to send member parliament delegations to all across the world. These Western economies use them for a vested interest to keep the growing India on the back foot. So we can give any amount of dossiers. They will only see what they have to see. I mean, Donald Trump is doing a crypto deal now with the state of Pakistan. So we can give them dossiers. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that we have a very nimble and adept foreign minister and somebody as strong as Narendra Modi, who's actually giving it back in the language you best understand, because I'm not too sure if just giving dossiers is going to pay dividends.
Okay, Mr. Sikka, I'm talking about flipping the dossier though on its head. We're not trying to figure out where the money is coming from. We're not trying to pinpoint Pakistan, Qatar, etc., China, wherever. We're not doing that. But why are these people so interested in taking the money? The people on the ground, Mr. Sikka.
Let me take you to a more serious point. First thing first, there is a solution. If those Sikhs in Pakistan, in Canada, who are beginning to do this and object, the pictures of the terrorists hanging inside the gurdwaras, they're objecting to it. But till yesterday, what was happening was these pictures were far higher and above the pictures of Guru Nanak and Guru Gobind Singh Ji and Tegh Bahadur Ji. And that gave the younger generations an idea, oh, possibly these are also the gurus. And that brainwashing did work negatively against India. My friend Lally has just said something which I'll slightly give you another view. Is it possible, and I would like because it is coming in some domains, that the tunnels that were damaged or blocked post our attack over there, between the Fawadabad and the Kirana tunnels, those nukes, did they belong to United States? Was it why? That is why those F-16s were based there. Was Pakistan acting as part of it, or part of the American waterfront or face front or war front for addressing China and Russia? Is this correct that this news is emerging right from US? And if yes, why it has not been negated? Is that why an IMF loan was dosed out or a World Bank loan is being planned for them? There has to be very strong reasons. And with the fact that, given the fact that despite Osama bin Laden caught over there, the eyes were shut and the dole money was given out yet.
Yes.
Is that the fact that Pakistan is just like a border front or a paddle or a platform for the Americans erstwhile? I don't think Trump will tolerate that. But is it a fact? Because this news is emerging not from our country. It is emerging from US. The fact of the matter is that the nuclear parts or the plutonium or neutron have not blasted, because for that to blast, the explosive or fossil have to join together and then attack. But when the tunnels were were pushed in back by our missiles. The 4 and 5.7 Richter scale, that was radiation, not an earthquake. Those inside those 5 out of 7 tunnels will never come back. Those tunnels will be sealed. If there are 100 people inside, they are dead and gone. Is that what the Pakistanis are being compensated for? The West is asking.
Okay, all right. On that note, I've completely run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us to take the conversation forward.